What's up residents, Alistair here. Is Godzilla vs Kong in danger? That's the topic of today's video, because we have some potential bad news that puts the success of the film into question. More on that in a second. Before we get into it, don't forget to subscribe and stomp that notification button to keep up to date on all that news regarding Godzilla. We also have a special surprise coming for you residents very soon, so stay tuned for all that good stuff here at DangerVille. Now let's get to it. As you residents know, Godzilla vs Kong had its release date moved from March 13th to November 20th, 2020, which was mainly so the studio had extra time to do reshoots and to work on the visual effects to make the film as high quality as possible. Things were looking up with a relatively free November release, with Marvel's The Eternals releasing on November 6th. A big contender, but it gave Godzilla vs Kong enough room to soak up the market later in the month. Other films included Deep Water and another kaiju film called Clifford the Big Red Dog, all before Godzilla vs Kong's release. Though the studio Universal has moved their latest entry in the James Bond series, No Time to Die, to November 25th, a mere 5 days following Godzilla vs Kong's release. This move comes from fears surrounding the coronavirus. China is a giant audience for blockbusters like these. For comparison, Spectre, the last entry in the James Bond series, earned $83 million at the box office. And as of right now, cinemas in China are closed until further notice, and that's a large sum of money that I'm sure Universal would like to reel in. The government have no current estimate for when the cinemas will reopen, so Universal, like many other companies, want to avoid the problem, though it's likely to be a couple of months until they feel confident that the pandemic has cleared where they can reopen. But now this move puts it right behind Godzilla vs Kong. James Bond as a series performs better at the box office and appeals to a greater audience than Godzilla, especially for Western audiences. This could potentially be disastrous for the film, as the rather free month is now a crowded one, and this trend may continue with other movies moving to avoid the virus. Though some are in the belief that this move was not only to avoid the virus, but to sabotage Warner Bros. Plans of having a successful film at the box office. By moving it to the week following Godzilla vs Kong, it'll likely mean that it'll become the #1 film in the world at the box office, which adds fuel to the marketing team to promote their film and steal the limelight away from Warner Bros. This is a pretty scummy tactic if you ask me, and the chances of them choosing the date out of pure coincidence is very low. This kind of planning takes a lot of time and a lot of people. They're dealing with hundreds of millions, potentially billions of dollars here. Coincidences don't just happen. Someone at Universal knew exactly what they were doing when they moved it to that date. Is this the end of the world though? No, probably not. Godzilla vs Kong still has a large target audience that will likely choose that film over James Bond, and it'll still bring in a lot of money. Also, one thing to note is that with Kong's involvement, it's going to be a lot easier to market in Western countries, since King Kong is a more popular character than Godzilla in America. Godzilla vs Kong will most likely take the #1 spot in the box office, away from Marvel's The Eternals, which releases 2 weeks prior, but this won't stop Disney's film from soaking up some potential moviegoers away from the next entry in the MonsterVerse. The next film in the Fantastic Beasts series was originally meant to release in November 2020, though this has been delayed to 2021 so Warner Bros. Can take a new approach to the production. So this leaves Godzilla vs Kong with only 2 major competitors, The Eternals and No Time to Die. Godzilla King of the Monsters was a box office disappointment, only earning approximately $386 million at the worldwide box office, compared to Godzilla 2014's $524 million and Kong Skull Island's $566 million. But this can be for many factors. The film was released in a crowded season and didn't receive a great critical reaction, which may have harmed its potential viewership numbers. The biggest moneymaker around the time of King of the Monsters' release was Aladdin, and whilst this released the week prior, it became the film that families would flock to see because it was safe for parents to take their kids to watch, regardless of the quality. But this begs the question, what are the chances that Warner Bros. Will move the release date of Godzilla vs Kong to a more free spot? October of 2020 is looking like a safe option, with the only major contender being Venom 2 on October 2nd. Or perhaps later in the year, to December 2020, where the only big movie coming out is Dune, which in and of itself is a film that only appeals to a niche audience, and won't soak up too much of the competition. Depending how far through production they are, it could be very likely since they've done it twice before. However, there's no saying that another large blockbuster won't suddenly take the spot and soak up the limelight away from Godzilla vs. Kong once again. At the end of the day, if they keep running, it'll never be released. Warner Brothers will most likely just have to bite the bullet and hope their marketing team can pull something amazing out of their sleeve. Executives over at Warner Bros. Are most likely figuring out contingency plans as we speak, either considering a change to their style of marketing or maybe spending a few more $1 million making sure more eyes see the trailer for the upcoming film. In most cases, however, it'll make an impact. So to summarize, is Godzilla vs. Kong doomed to fail? Well, yes and no. It's definitely going to perform worse being coupled with a household name like James Bond, but it's not going to be an outright failure. Godzilla and Kong are still big names and will help push the film to find an audience, even throughout the Eternals and No Time to Die being in cinemas. Don't forget, Kong Skull Island released only a week following Logan and a week before Beauty and the Beast, two giant films that performed incredibly well at the box office. If the marketing for Godzilla vs. Kong is strong and the review scores are good, it could still hold up against James Bond and perform fairly well. And at the end of the day, if this film still underperforms, we still got to see another big budget Godzilla film, and that's awesome. And whilst I'd love to see more films in the MonsterVerse, it's not worth dwelling on things out of our control. Just appreciate the things we have instead of focusing on the things we don't. Either way, Legendary wants to continue the MonsterVerse one way or another, whether that's exclusively Kong-based films, a Netflix series, or maybe just a graphic novel. So even if Godzilla vs. Kong doesn't live up to box office expectations, we're going to get more awesome stuff centered in the MonsterVerse to get excited about. So there's nothing to worry about. But what do you think about this news? Are you worried about the release of Godzilla vs. Kong? Let us know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, it helps us know what kind of videos you want us to make. And remember to subscribe and hit that notification button so you don't miss out on the surprise we have planned in the near future. I've been Alistair from DangerVille, and residents, we'll see you in the next one.